there is a gap. Every single one of you that's listening, I want you to understand there is a gap in every marketplace, okay? In the marketplace, the first thing you want to do is you want to find out, do people pay to have their problem solved, okay? There are some markets that people have problems and they don't pay to have it solved. It's just a problem, but it's not a big deal. But there are some people that they have a problem, they pay to have it solved. So in Greg's case, he's working with skiers. Skiers get injured. That's a problem. It's a problem for them because if they don't recover from their injury, then they can't ski again, right? That's a problem that actually keeps them up at night, right? So they pay. They pay traditional physical therapy clinics to rehabilitation. But now there's a gap. And the gap is, well, these clinics will only rehabilitate them to a level that allows them to do basic level stuff, right? But not allow them to get back to a very difficult sport, which is skiing. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of pounding, a lot of torque on different parts of their body, right? So you filled the gap for them.
This is Secrets for Success.
Welcome to the Secrets for Success podcast. I'm your host, Greg Todd. Thank you as always for joining me. My friends, I actually have a power couple on. Yeah, you guys are like the young power couple. I have Greg and Sarah Louie. They are some amazing people that have been in my world for probably about 2.5 years, maybe. It's been a really incredible journey. So I thank you guys for coming on the podcast, and thank you all for being here in Florida.
It's awesome.
Yes.
It's great to get out of Seattle right now. It's rainy, snowing in the mountains, but it's nice to be out here in shorts.
Do you guys know that I've only seen snow twice in my life?
Get out of here, no way.
Yes. So the one time, so I saw, it was actually 3 times. So in 2002, I was a physical therapist. It was my second year of being a PT. I had saved up my money to go visit my wife's cousin in Norway. And it was in May, which I was like, you're like, what's the one thing you want to do? I was like, I've never seen snow. I've only seen it on Home Alone. Yeah. And so they took us to the mountains just to see it. That was one time. The second time I saw snow was when I was consulting for a set of private practices in Worcester, Massachusetts. First time I've ever seen snowfall. I was beside myself.
Elated.
Yeah. And then the third time that I've seen snow was when I went to Gwen's clinic and did a private consulting.
Wow.
And it's crazy. So that's it. My wife's first time ever seeing snow was when we built the Blue Ridge house. And when we were bringing in the furniture, snow fell down.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
So isn't that crazy? And my kids had never seen snow before.
That's wild.
So
dang.
That's crazy.
Yes. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I'll come see you guys. It's like I see snow. It's like really cool. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey. You all have been physical therapists for how long? Just go ahead and bring me through the journey.
Cool. You want to start or me?
You go and then I'll fill in.
Wait. So I graduated PT school 2018.
Okay.
Immediately I was like, man, I need to learn all the stuff because I want to be a really, really like strong practicing physical therapist. So right out of PT school, I applied to residency, got into one in Seattle, moved back home, went to residency in Seattle, finished that up. And I was like, well, the only better thing to do is do fellowship right after, right? So we followed it right back up. Back-to-back years, and in that time I met Sarah when she was on internship in Seattle, and yeah, that's kind of like where the journey started.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty similarly. I graduated in 2019.
Okay.
And I thought similar. Like I knew a lot of people ahead of me were like, there's not much mentorship out there, and like if you want like consistent mentorship, like it's best to do a residency fellowship. And I had met Greg, and he was doing one. It had really great like reviews, and it was really seamless. Like your mentor was just on site. Like there was no like traveling to weekend classes. Like it was just kind of like a notch down from PT school, like the rigor of it. So I was like, why not do this and invest? I kind of like have a feeling I'm probably going to go on my own one day. So I don't want to have to like be like tied to someone being like, this is how you're going to get good results.
Right.
So I did residency fellowship, and then I think we got married like my fellowship year. And then after that, we just kind of started looking at other things.
Okay. So you both did residency. You did it in 2019. You did it in 2020.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Residency fellowship.
And I mean, I know for me, I didn't do a residency because there wasn't a thing called residency back then.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm ancient. I'm a dinosaur apparently. But I did 180 CEU credits in my first 18 months, right? And so I want to hear from you guys what happened after, because I know for me, as I just assumed that if I became a much more proficient clinician, my life was just going to get better. Like that was it. So what happened after that, and then kind of what led to me? I don't. Yeah. So tell me.
Yeah, I would say the first year out, you get out and you're like practicing, and it's great because instead of having to go to class on the weekends and after work, you're actually like, man, I can enjoy the weekends, right?
Yeah.
After that first year, it's like, man, I hit the peak in what I can learn, at least like based out of residency fellowship. I can go to Con Ed, but as far as advancement in the career goes, I was like, this is kind of it. There's not really much more to advance in, and I saw kind of like a dead end, and I started looking for ways to get out of that to just like kind of better either the clinic or better myself in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, it was interesting because during my fellowship year is when we got married. So I was like doing fellowship, working full time, planning a wedding. So my first year after, I was like, this is amazing. Like I'm enjoying fresh air. But Greg was starting to get antsy, and he was like kind of starting the hustle where he was like working for our clinic full time, taking students to try to like maximize profit. He started working for this company that does like kind of home health ortho. So he would like supplement that on the side. And he was starting to look into real estate. So he's like, okay, I've hit the ceiling. Like, how am I going to grow? And I'm kind of like in my year of like taking some time to like chill, but I'm future pacing and I'm looking at our future. And like Greg's like doing all this stuff. And I'm like, this is whatever this is, like it's cool and you're like experimenting in new things, but like this really isn't sustainable for, us like long term.
It's amazing that you came to that conclusion so fast. Like your journey, because I compare yours to mine in many ways, right? And it seems like you hit the peak clinically in less than 2 years. It's about 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, it wasn't 2 years, it was double. It's so funny, like everything. And I was even talking to my wife about it. I was like, yeah, like everything for them, right? Because you guys are like a couple, and it's kind of it's like almost like a mini me and Carrie type of deal, right? But you're both PTs, but it's like, yeah, it took me about 4 years to come to that realization. Like I was busting my tail, man. I was, learning everything that I could. I did my OCS, I did my CSCS. I got pretty much all of the classes for my MTC, and I realized, and I was working with professional tennis players, right? Like I was working with the top people in the world, and I felt that. I felt what you just said. I'm like, dang, is this it? Right? But it took you 2 years. So it's pretty impressive, like, that you figured it out. So I think the big thing I want you all that are listening is hard work. Pat Riley says, hard work doesn't guarantee you anything, but without it, you don't stand a chance, right? Okay. But you can work hard at certain things, and there's a very distinct cap, right? So you came to terms with that, right? So can you tell me what happened next? Like now you're starting to look for other ways. You talked about real estate, this, that, da, 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 da. So then like, how did you kind of come to what it is that you're doing now? Or like, how did I become an option and all that? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like in the process of trying to like grow in the insurance-based world, my clinic that I was working for was seeing patients on the hour, and I realized if I had to cancel, there's a lot of downtime. So I said, well, why don't I just see people on the 45 minutes? So if there is a cancel, then I can be more efficient with my time.
Right.
Through that process, I was able to basically make as much as I was making, working 3/4 the amount of time because the cancellation time was less. So basically my losses were cut. So in the time that I wasn't working at the clinic. I was able to go to that other clinic, like Sarah was saying. But at the same time, I just like was sharing like with a bunch of my patients about some of the struggles that I was having. And one of them is like, man, there's this thing called Bigger Pockets, and I got really into real estate. Like I would wake up before, and the guys on the Bigger Pockets podcast are like, if you want to get good at something, you got to like analyze properties, like know your market, like any type of endeavor, you got to know your market. So I was like, all right, I'm going to learn my market. So I used to get up an hour before work, like study real estate, study all these houses. And I was like, okay, let's start putting away some money for savings for that. And Sarah and I put away basically a fair chunk of change, not enough to put it down, like deposit on a house, but like we were on our way to doing that. And I think that's when along that journey, I think I found you either on like Facebook or Instagram, and you basically popped up and it was like, hey, this is an opportunity to like do something in physical therapy. And I had seen like all these other people try to get out of physical therapy, but I was like, man, I love the profession. I want to stay in it. I didn't just go get my like fellowship to just quit,
Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in it. So the huge thing was like, all right, Sarah, well, we've saved this money. I don't know what to do with it. Like we could go into real estate, but I don't really know that well. Like I didn't go to school. I didn't like do any apprenticeship for that.
Yeah.
It's a very foreign market. That's very like pretty risky. But maybe like we can invest in something that we know a little bit about, but the business side, we can like learn that. And we prayed about it. And like the amount actually that we had set aside for real estate was the like exact amount that basically it was going to cost to work with you. And we're like, okay, God, well, like if it's this something that we don't know.
Story.
Yeah.
I just knew that I had talked to you.
Yeah. You talked to him.
I talked to you, and I just remember saying, yeah, if it works out, cool, whatever. You said we're gonna pray about it. I was like, okay, just let me know whenever. But I didn't know this. Wow.
Yeah. It's also, I remember the day, I remember Greg had like a call with you, and it was a holiday, and like we had to wake up because we work 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. like most days of the week. So we had to wake up early, and it was a holiday. We got to sleep in, and he had a call with you at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Right.
And I said, are you kidding me? Like, you're going to wake me up. Like, this is going to be so annoying. So he takes this call with you, and he's like, Sarah, I don't know, like this sounds really intriguing. Like this sounds super enticing. And he just like kind of keeps telling me about it over a couple of weeks. And that Friday, he's like, we're going to sit down with these 2 brothers who've been in your program, and we're going to hear their story. And so
that was Melendez.
I'm like, so I'm in the kitchen, and I'm hoodwinked into this call to talk to these guys, and they're like, yeah, Sarah. They're like, this is amazing. Like our lives have been, transformed. Like we're right out of school. Like it's going so well. And that's all I had to make a decision to go into platinum with you. So it's funny because sometimes you'll tell our story and you'll be like, I don't know if Louie's like kind of took a little bit of time. And I was like, I had no warm up.
Yeah, no warm up faith.
Yeah, like we just had faith that investment was like where God wanted us to put it. And then now here we are.
Wow. Guys, this is all new to me of hearing this. So can I tell you something? Well, we could talk about what has happened since. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can talk about that. I never thought I would be a real estate investor, and you guys know now I am. But for me, I mean, I think I'm sure you made the right move. But I'll tell you this, I'm a real estate investor, and the amount of money that you have to invest in order, I know this is commonplace for people, but there is no return on investment in the amount of time you've been in this world, the amount of return compared to real estate. It's like night and day. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can give you guys some of my numbers if you want to know, but it's crazy. It's like,
I mean, yeah, one of the strategies I was looking into was like long distance real estate. And they're like, oh, that's the cash flow game. You buy a property at $30,000 because it's cheaper, you can afford it. And month over month, you make, I don't know, $100 to $200 to cash flow. And I was like, okay. And then you just repeat that over and over.
Right.
And then after a while, you have $1,000, $2,000 cash flow. And then when you came into your world, like we discovered this online thing, and it's like online, well, there's no overhead besides, like paying for whatever software you have.
Right.
And then your assets are basically getting people into the program and keeping them there. And it's like, wait, so you're telling me if it's $200 cash flow in this house, which takes you have to save up to get the down payment. You have to renovate the house, manage all these people. Or if like, even if you only charge $10 a month and you can get 20 people into your program, like just use the skill set you have to like do that. And in the beginning, you can charge so little and like still make that cash flow. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think that was possible when we first started to work with you.
And that's what right there, what Greg was just explaining to you is 5th grade education. Okay. Now, most people won't map that out and they won't even try to analyze that out so that they can make, a good decision. Obviously, you want your decision to be backed by just knowing that God is leading it, but God gives us a brain to be able to logically say, hey, wait a minute, I got to use my head here. This is how long it would take with this. This is the amount of, right? I've already gained so much skill set of what I've invested in as a physical therapist. Why not just learn how to amplify this, in a one-to-many format? And I can have a much higher return on my investment. And then what does that look like, year over year? It's crazy. And then from there, as you start to now stockpile, you can now do the other things. I do believe in diversifying your income, but I do believe that in the first, 5-10 years, you need to go all in on something that's going to allow you to bless as many of God's children as possible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Okay. So why don't we tell the people what you guys do now? So you invested in this thing, and this is not a commercial for me. Okay. I want to now just know your thing. What are you doing and what do you do?
Yeah, so I am a online coach and I help skiers get back to skiing pain-free and have more fun on the hill. So I work with clients internationally, which I never thought would be possible.
Well, okay. How about you?
And I am a physical therapist and run coach that helps women runners with hip pain get back to running pain-free. And I do it hybrid, so either all in person or in person and online.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about what that looks like. Because most people that follow me know that like I am the leverage guy. For me, everything's about time. I want to be at my family. I want to take time for myself. I want to be able to work on my spiritual life, Okay. And I love to work and I love to serve people, but I also have other interests, right? So what does that look like for you? You're saying you work with people all over. What does all over mean? And explain what a typical day in the life looks like for Greg Louie.
Yeah, I mean, each day is going to look a little bit different based on what my clients need. Obviously, there's a side of serving the people that are working with you, like as a one-on-one client. So where I usually take over or render services is once the client is done with their traditional physical therapy, and they basically have no clue how to get back to the ski hill because their provider either didn't have the time or they didn't have the experience, or insurance cut them off. So basically, they're using my experience to help them get back to the ski hill and be confident in doing that.
Okay, so let's talk about this. There is a gap. Every single one of you that's listening, I want you to understand there is a gap in every marketplace, okay? In the marketplace, the first thing you want to do is you want to find out, do people pay to have their problem solved, okay? There are some markets that people have problems and they don't pay to have it solved. It's just a problem, but it's not a big deal. But there are some people that they have a problem, they pay to have it solved. So in Greg's case, he's working with skiers. Skiers get injured. That's a problem. It's a problem for them because if they don't recover from their injury, then they can't ski again, right? That's a problem that actually keeps them up at night, right? So they pay. They pay traditional physical therapy clinics to rehabilitation. But now there's a gap. And the gap is, well, these clinics will only rehabilitate them to a level that allows them to do basic level stuff, right? But not allow them to get back to a very difficult sport, which is skiing. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of pounding, a lot of torque on different parts of their body, right? So you filled the gap for them, correct?
That's right.
So you're known on Instagram as what?
The Ski PT.
The Ski PT. So you have been building this Ski PT brand on Instagram, and you've been doing it for how long?
Since we started, so about 2.5 years.
About 2.5 years. And can you tell them kind of where it's at now? And let's now talk about these people that you say are all over.
Yeah, totally. So when we started, one of the best ways to market, or that Greg shared with us to market, is just to go on Instagram, because Instagram's free. You don't have to pay to like post your videos. and you can get eyeballs from everywhere. So the first thing we did was identify like what is the problem that the people want, and like can you just start by giving them value, helping them solve solutions, or getting them the idea of what the next step looks like, to realize like, hey man, when you're out of insurance, like there actually is stuff that you can continue to do, and like I'm not gonna like help you do it, like you don't have to pay me right off the bat, but like this is what I would do if I was in your shoes.
Right.
And just helping them move to the next step.
Right.
I think maybe it's luck, maybe it's just God's timing, but I feel like I was in a really good position. And when I started, like the first 3 months was a lot of like boot work, you know, like not a lot of eyeballs. And then it just took like 1 or 2 viral reels to just take off. And then all of a sudden you get a ton of eyeballs on your page. I think the timing worked out where we were going into ski season. So there's a lot of people looking for that type of content. And I remember within like a 1 month period, I went from like probably 5,000 to 10,000. 10,000 to 20. And I was just looking at like my stats recently from last year. I went from like 30 to 60 from August to November. And a year later, I now at like, I think 165. So
165,000 followers. It's crazy. And those are people from all over. That's the all over, right? Like,
all over.
Not just Washington State, right? Okay, like they're from all over. That's so cool. What's the craziest place or like furthest place that clients from?
It's a great story. Yeah. So I have a guy that lives in Abu Dhabi, the desert, right?
Really?
Yeah. So
what's the
he hits me up and I'm like, yeah, that's what I told him. And I was like, so do you need me to help you with something? He's like, oh, I work for he's an air traffic controller. So he gets like free flights basically anywhere. And Abu Dhabi is a very central hub to go either ski in Europe or like, I guess in like Eastern Europe, there's some really good skiing too. So he's like, yeah, every single year I take like 3 weeks and I just take all of my time off and I'll go and just go to all the Alps. And he's like, I think he tore his ACL. He's like, I want you to help me make sure that I can go do that. And I was like, all right. So this guy in the middle of the desert, we worked with him and helped him get ready for the ski season last year.
You guys have heard me talk about this, and those of you who listen to the podcast, I talk quite a bit about level 1 to level 10 opportunities, right? And I think that as amazing as you are, and I really want to applaud you for what the both of you did coming out of physical therapy school. You know, a lot of people kind of rest on their laurels, like, hey, I put a lot of work into PT. It should give me what it is that I want. You took that next step. You're like, look, I'm going to do my residency. I'm going to do a fellowship. And you really try to take yourself to that next level fast. And I love that about you guys. But you were at a level 1 opportunity. Okay. And so no matter how good you got, you can only see a person at a time, whether it's 45 minutes or an hour or whatnot. I mean, you try to hack the system, but that's as much as you can kind of hack it. Right. There's a level 1 opportunity. What you're doing now is a level 10 opportunity. You're working with somebody in Abu Dhabi. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like what? You know what I mean? Right. And so it's just so wild that it happens. Okay. How about for you?
Yeah. So for me, day to day, it looks a little bit different every day, just like Greg said. Still like fulfilling my one-on-one clients. I really enjoy seeing clients in person, but like as a kind of solopreneur in my side of the practice, like it really ties up a lot of my time.
Right.
And I work with women who are like mostly moms or like young professionals. So like getting to a clinic every, week is a lot for them. So being able to have it be hybrid or fully virtual, like allows me to just like maintain them as clients and get them better faster.
Right.
So doing one-on-one kind of coaching and PT with those clients. And then I'm also growing a group coaching practice, which it's so fun. With the group coaching clients I've done, I never thought this would be possible, but I've had more fun. I think the clients have had more success than doing one-on-one because they like see each other and they're kind of like, it's not like they become best friends, but they're like accountable. They're like, I got to show up and like do my stuff. And it's just like fun to get a bunch of girls on that like love running to talk about running.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was no way you could have told me 20 years ago that doing things in group would be more powerful than doing things, one-on-one. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if we spent the last 3 days together and it was just me, yeah, it'd be great. Right. But being with these other people, it makes it even better because there's certain things that you can talk about: highs, lows, struggles, this, that, da 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 da. It's so powerful. And for the person that's setting it all up, it does take pressure off of me. Like, I don't have to be there for every single thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you guys can hang out at night, you can do this, you can do that, da 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 da. So I think that's really powerful. Now, I would like to talk about hybrid because I think a lot of people would love to do that. And they just don't understand like how you can make it work. Like, how can you get started with it? It's either I'm going to treat patients in person or I'm going to go online. You're doing both. So like, how do you make it work? Like, how do you decide who's going to be the in-person people, who's going to be the group coaching people? Kind of just talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, a lot of it is delineated, like if they're not in Washington State, like obviously they're just going to be a virtual client. But if it's someone that's like local to Seattle, they probably would enjoy going hybrid with me in person and virtual kind of mix. Mostly all of my clients choose my hybrid option because it's just easier for their schedule.
Right.
And really how I break it down to them is I whip out my pyramid and I say, hey, Susie, like this is where you're at. You're in the discover phase. We're going to develop and then we're going to deploy you back to running. And this is kind of like the components of how we're going to get there. And a lot of it really isn't hands-on. Like I'm really not doing a lot of manual therapy to them.
Right.
And they're so like, because they can see that end goal and the stages that it's going to take to get there, they're so bought in that they're not like tied to my hands and like my manual skills. They're like, okay, if I need to, do the running that you're going to tell me to do, if I need to do the exercises that you're going to tell me to do 3 times a week, then like we could just virtually check in and just make sure that everything's going well. And then next time I see you, we can kind of adjust from there. And honestly, like the further we get into the program, I will find that people will be like, hey, can we actually just finish this hybrid? Even though they paid for, or virtual, even though they paid for a higher ticket program, they're like, I'm actually getting so much out of this. I kind of just want to finish virtually and like check in with you less frequently.
Okay. This right here is a game changer. And right now, people's minds are kind of getting rattled a little bit.
Yeah.
Because most people feel as though I can't go virtual because the people aren't going to value it as much.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is what people are feeling.
Yeah.
They want to do what you guys are doing so badly.
Yeah.
But that is a mental block. And I get it because like, how do we learn at school? Right?
Yeah. And you're talking to 2 fellowship trained manual therapists.
Okay.
Like we're like, there's no other way to go.
There's no other way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Please, I hope you all are listening. Hello, you guys listen? Okay. All right. I hope you guys are listening. It's really important to understand that there are certain things that people are valuing more now, and that is time. But you have to be able to present it properly to people. So you're using the pyramid, okay, and you're presenting to them, this is the path, and they're valuing your consultative efforts over not just your manual skills,
For sure.
okay? And I'm not saying those things aren't important. They're important, but your consultative efforts will allow you now to build a skill set to move up to the higher level opportunities. And you guys are really just getting started. So that's really, really awesome. I love it. All right. Let's it's 2 years in, right? Let's share with the listeners, let's share with them lessons like things you wish you would have done, highs, lows. Like it's not always perfect here, y'all. I try not to paint that picture, okay? So I would love to hear from you guys. There's a story that I will never forget. It was in Blue Ridge, and I remember this where I think it was it just no, it was both of you, and you were just like, Greg said it initially. It's like, thank you for letting me go online.
Yeah.
So anyways, can you talk about just the highs, the lows? Can you give some insight to people of what they should expect if they're doing this?
Yeah, I can first start. I first want to just thank you, Greg. I feel like from a spiritual perspective, you do such a such a good job of like not only just like leading people into business, but like doing it from a God perspective. And I would say like my spiritual journey, just like hearing the different parables, like the story of the talents and how like King Solomon just like uses his wisdom. I was like, man, that's such a good perspective that like I go back and read those stories and I'm like, wow, I have like such new vision for like what I do. And now when I'm reading the Bible, there's just like little things where it's like, this little thing like totally just relates to entrepreneurship. I'm writing that down, you know?
The whole book does. What the
Once it's unlocked like that,
yeah.
I'll just bring it.
But yeah, I guess related to that, one of the biggest struggles that I used to have when I was working for my previous clinic was just being locked into the clinic. And there's so many ways, like if you know Sarah and I, we're like totally people that we love to serve others. And when you're locked into a clinic and you're like, you have to be there from 7 to 6 p.m., 4 days a week, it's like, man, I don't really have the energy to get off work, go eat dinner, go now work out for myself and maintain my physical health while like going and serving other people. It's like you can't pour over and overflow into other people's lives when your cup is empty.
Yeah.
Now it's like, man, I can go in the middle of the day and like a brother's like, hey, dude, like I am struggling. I can be like, yo, do you want to get coffee? I'm just gonna like move my schedule around and I can like go and like meet with people in that way. It's just so sweet to be able to do that.
Yeah. You know, here, if we can throw some Bible stuff real quick. Have you guys read Ecclesiastes?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Ecclesiastes used to kind of depress me. Jeez, like nothing not.
Yeah, it is.
But recently I was reading Ecclesiastes, and if you start to extract, like, okay, what is he saying that does matter? And one of the things that King Solomon is saying in Ecclesiastes is that what is important is that you're enjoying your work. Okay. And if you can't, I don't care how fun your job is, I don't care how fun your mission is, if you can't separate out time to be able to take care of your fellow brother, to be able to pray for your friend, to be able to enhance your spiritual life, to be able to take care of each other, and you don't have any flexibility, I don't care how awesome it is. At some point, you're going to start to resent it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I am very, very, very bullish on, is that we must enjoy our toil. That's what he's saying. Enjoy your work. And also, and you guys do this, like you're very wise for some young people. It also says that you can't just work all day. Okay. You can't just work all day. You've got to work, enjoy it. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to blow everything, but you got to work, enjoy, work, enjoy, work, enjoy. And I love that, because even we've been working together for the last 3 days, you guys, and you guys aren't going home tomorrow. You're actually going to stay here, right? And enjoy. And I love that. You guys are actually following what King Solomon said. This is really, really cool.
Cool.
So yeah, so I think that's awesome. Okay. You have any thoughts
Yes,
on this?
I for sure have thoughts. I honestly feel like a huge low for me, or just like a struggle. And this is something that I was just telling some girls in my small group the other day, is I feel like a lie that I believe is that the best thing that I was made to be is a physical therapist. Like I was made to do 30 minutes of manual therapy and 30 minutes in the gym and have these plan of cares. And secretly in my heart, I think I've been waiting for my business to feel like I used to be, feel like it used to. And I realized that like God's made me for so much more. Like he's like, you're still gonna get that, like with your one-on-ones, like you're still gonna get some of that feeling, but I'm actually setting you up to serve more people and have a bigger impact. And I feel like it's something that I need to continue to lean into, because if I'm going back to my old, ways, it's like a dog back to its own vomit.
Right.
Like I don't need to go back to what I was.
You're reading some Proverbs, I hear. Sure, yeah. It's an identity shift.
Yeah.
One of the big things I'm gonna mentor now. Y'all can listen on the podcast. I mentor my peeps here now. One of the biggest things that I've really had to work on is being careful of idols. And sometimes we can find idols in our titles, right? So we are these DPTs, we're these manual therapists, right? And there's nothing wrong with treating people. There's nothing wrong with that. But nothing should identify us.
Yeah.
Okay. We are children of God. Okay. That's really the only identity. It's whose we are. Right. So, if anytime those identities are actually holding us back from serving more of God's children, because I know that all of this is just ministry, right? I know that in ministry, I know that it's much more effective to solve somebody's problem than just putting up. And by the way, I'm not shaming any of you that are doing this, but if you're just putting up the blue cardboard sign that says, "You're going to hell, Jesus saves," it's just, my way is, I think, a little bit more powerful, because I'm solving a problem for you. And then once I solve a problem for you, now you're like, what else could you do for me? Right? And now I could talk to you about ministry. I could weave that in to my message, and people will listen.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's the same thing for you. At the end of the day, what are we really here for? Like, we're here to bring more people to Christ. I mean, at least that's what I know you all believe that too, right? So that's really what we're here for, right? So in order for us to do that, we got to bring more value to people, right? And so that was a hard thing for me as well. By the way, I don't know if you guys know, I'm a manual therapist, right? Like, that's what I did. That was my title. But I had to take that away. It's not that I can't do it anymore, but it just can't define me. It can't make, like, when I'm making my decisions, when I'm making my choices, it has to be based off of, is this bringing more people potentially to Christ? Yes or no? And you only treating people in person, you can't actually build your true ministry, right? Like, that can't be the only thing.
Yeah.
Right? But as Solomon said, we must enjoy our toil. So if you enjoy it, you can do some of it, but we also have to remember that we're trying to build our mission.
Cool.
So awesome. This has been fun. How do people find out about you guys? And then after that, I want to give you guys a shout out. So how do they find out about you?
Man, I would just say the easiest way, just go on Instagram, look up the Ski PT, and you'll find me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm Dr. Sarah, the Hip Doc, on Instagram and all socials, or legacyrehabandperformance.com is our website.
Okay. So you guys, I'll put that in the description below. You can go follow them and all that good stuff. Okay, Kiri, I want to, before I give you guys a shout out, I want to ask you, if you had to do it all over again, would you have done it, differently? Like anything from PT school, this, like, have you thought of it? Me, this, that, da, da, da. Like, I just really want to know.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we say this. If we had to go back and do it again, because when we started our business, we were not in Seattle. We were living in Hawaii. So we were, like, away from where we thought we were going to be.
Right.
And we were like, oh, I wish we would have done this during COVID, when we were working like 3 days because our clinic was shut down the fourth day.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Whatever. And we're like, oh, I wish we would have just started this in 2020.
Yeah, I get that. I think you would have gotten a huge rush.
For sure.
But I also, want to tell you this, and I think that even though you didn't, it's been a blessing, because a lot of people, my brother calls it, COVID businesses, right? There's a lot of people that did go online during that time, or they were in business before and they actually, like, blew up, okay, because of COVID, but they're not around anymore. So I think the fact that you all have been able to build these businesses, build pretty sustainable businesses, young still, so we got to be very vigilant, okay? But you've been able to grow so much online, grow your brand, grow your authority, and do it during non-spike times. It's pretty awesome, and I'm just thinking about it right now. There's someone in particular, not in my program, someone that I was in a mastermind with, where they were able to grow a membership community during COVID, and they grew that membership community to 30,000 members.
That's
Crazy, right? But guess what? It was close to, they did like 7 million during the COVID time, and now it's like, it's nothing. So I'm saying that because just it's good and bad, right? There's good and bad. And, I think I shared this with you guys in inner circle. Like, you don't know any different, but these are actually fairly lean times. So the fact that you're growing your brand, you're growing your audience, you're growing your income, and you're doing this during, you don't know any different. You know what I mean? So I actually think that you are going to have your spike. You're going to have a spike. Even though you guys have done really good, okay? But I think you're going to have a massive spike, especially as the economy continues to slowly turn around going into 2025. So anyways, this is what I wanted to say about the two of you. What I really love about the both of you, I don't know if you try to kill each other outside here, but boy, I really love the teamwork. You're not doing the same business. You both are doing different businesses. I've seen a lot of great stories with husband and wife entrepreneurs. I've also seen a lot of horror stories. And somehow, some way, I just love the support that you guys have for each other. I'm sure you try to punch each other out at times, and you try to maybe just put a pillow over his head at night. Around there. No, but seriously, I really, really, really admire your partnership. I admire how you guys support one another. I love how you guys are rooting for one another, and I love how you're both doing your part to allow the Louie legacy to build. And I love the fact that you are, even though you're both quite young, you're very self-aware that you understand that we're just in a season right now of our life where we're building something so that we can enjoy the fruits of this later. And you're doing a wonderful job. So just wanted to tell you all that.
FGT.
Yes. Oh, okay. Wait. There's one other thing. I said I needed to give you a Bible thing, right? Okay. So, sorry, the podcast is still going. Okay, this is a bonus for y'all on the podcast. So, I was reading this morning. This is Matthew chapter 2, and I don't know if you guys heard this. I think you guys came in late. You guys came in like a little bit, later. But I was sharing with the other people in Inner Circle about Matthew, chapter 2. So check this out. This morning, around 4:30 in the morning, I had like a dream. And not like a dream like, oh, something happened at like a state fair or something like that. It was like all of us together at the townhouse, and I was laying out how the day was going to go. Everything that we did today came in the dream this morning. But here's the deal. We're supposed to be great stewards. Like that's our job. Our job is to be a great steward, right? Stewardship is we own and manage a property, right? Or a possession. And because nothing is ours, right? Kingdom principles is we own nothing. We're just borrowing all this. God has allowed me to borrow, being able to help you all right now, right? I didn't create this. He ordained for you all to come in my life. I am stewarding over my responsibility to my kids. Okay, all right? And that's how it works. Okay, so anyways, I woke up and I had the dream, and now I've learned that I got to write all my stuff down. So I don't like to sleep with the phone in the room, but I have a notepad and I'll write down whatever my dreams are. So it kind of laid out the entire day, for me. And then I go back to sleep. So this morning I decided that I was going to start reading Matthew, just going through Matthew again. So I went through chapter 2 this morning. Do you guys understand that Jesus's entire journey of him not dying as a child was all based on the dreams? I don't know if you guys know this. Okay, so check this out. So Jesus is born, right? And King Herod hears about this, and King Herod wants him dead, right? So King Herod orders these three wise men to go and find him, just find where he's at, okay? And then come back and let me know so that I can kill the kid, right? So the three wise men find Jesus, right? Bring the gold, frankincense, myrrh, okay. And then they have a dream that night before they went back to Herod. And the dream said, don't go back to Herod. Flee. Just go somewhere else, okay? So Herod realized, oh my gosh, I paid these guys to go find this kid so I can kill the kid. Like, what? But it all happened in a dream. If they didn't have that dream and act on that dream, who knows what would happen?
Story.
Whole different story. Okay, So now here's the crazy part. So now Joseph, right? Jesus is, daddy, right? Okay, so Joseph has a dream that night as well that, hey, there's a king that's trying to kill your kid. Okay, we got to get the heck out of here and go to Egypt, right? So he has that dream. Herod finds out that where Jesus was, but he went there and they weren't there anymore. If Joseph never had the dream, different story, right? Okay, so then now Herod says, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to take everybody out. Any kid that's 2 years old or younger, just kill him. And that's what they did, right? Okay, and then eventually Herod dies and all of his associates die. And Joseph has a dream. Has a dream that they all died.
Wow.
And then from there was able to move to Nazareth.
It's crazy.
My point in all this is that we are given dreams. We're also stewards. So when you guys start having dreams, and you have dreams about your business, you have dreams of how you're going to serve people, and those things happen at night, I'm highly advising you to have a notepad next to your bed and write down your dream. And I believe that many of us have been given these dreams, but we are so numb to them because we're like, I'm not going to let it ruin my sleep or whatever, that we don't get them anymore. And my big thing that I just want you all to know, I don't even know if I'm keeping this in the podcast or not, but I want you all to know is that God is watching how you all are stewarding over everything that you're doing, how you're stewarding over your resources, your finances, the people that you're serving, how you're taking care of your audience. Steward properly. And I'm just trying to tell you, steward over your dreams as well. Cool? All right.